Hello and welcome to week 10 of building Kamino. Yes, we finally reached it. Last time we left off with this unfinished barrack section of Kamino. We will be finishing this section up completely today, and just a couple other small amendments around Kamino before we're going to place it back on top of the stilts or the columns we worked on in week 2. Feels like ages ago now. But first we've got a big old Bricklink haul to get through, so let's go straight to that first. Hopefully you enjoy.
Move it, troopers! On the double! Fire!
Okay, here we have the Mega Haul, starting off with probably the smallest package here. That's the Bricklink store for you. This I mainly just got for these orange pieces, but I also got some stickers while I was there, such as the one from the ITS Transport from 2020, as well as some Spider-Man set, which I thought I could just use for some interesting details. But this is what I really bought these for, these orange pieces to go on the underside of my barracks. These Technic pieces especially will be really useful for fitting the lights into the barracks here. On to the next two packages here. The first one here contains largely a bunch of big panel pieces. I really was excited to get a hold of these olive green corrugated iron pieces. I just think they're really interesting and really useful, and I can't wait to put them in some form of mock. So I picked up 4 of them just because they're useful and I can't wait to see what I can do with them. Another different type of panel I got were these dark blue ones. They've got like snot pieces on them and some stickers. You can see this one's actually quite badly discolored. Like if I compare it to one of the other ones, like it's quite ridiculous. I've got 3. I don't know how I'm going to use these, maybe for some kind of separatist base or something. This one's really badly discolored, isn't it? Anyway, I can just use it for filler because they were still pretty cheap. I've got another panel here with just some sticker on it. I think that's from some kind of Ninjago set. And I've also got a bunch of other pieces here off to the left, such as some little more orange pieces that I need for Kamino, as well as some dark bluish grey rounded pieces also for Kamino. Those orange pieces are going to go right in the underside there just to complete that line properly, and I think it'll look pretty good in the end. This one I'm actually kind of disappointed by. This was a haul I needed to get in to complete my Nalhutta mock, but obviously this came in a little bit too late. So I've got some more of those underside, helicopter pieces. This bag is a bunch of different pieces, some dark tan slope, some dark green because they're quite useful, and also these dishes I needed for Nalhutta as well. But oh well, I can't really do anything about that. Moving on. Next up, I've got a large window panel piece. This is actually from my Ninjago City Coruscant mock, which I am still working on, even though I haven't shown it off in quite a while. This is a very necessary piece for that. I've got one final little bag of pieces from this haul, which is going to be a bunch of different pieces. I really needed these hinge pieces to work on my platforms, as well as these 4x4 plates, which will also be needed for another part of Kamino. I've got this little black hat, which I needed to complete a minifigure, just this one here, and I'm pretty happy about that. That's for my Hondo and Noka figure I need that one for, I think. Another thing I've got is a lime green surfboard, because there's a specific technique I want to use with these, and I just want to see how that turns out, so I'm going to need a couple more of these, but that's quite useful. Another thing I got is just this little ladder piece, just because it was cheap and nice for detailing. Anyway, I've got these light bluish grey pieces because there's quite an interesting technique you can use when you connect some of these together, so I might want to implement that somehow in the future to create something like this kind of look as some kind of window design. I also got a bunch of these little bar or railing pieces, which are also needed for my Coruscant mock. Right, final haul of today, still going. This is the last one though. Sorry the lighting isn't too great in this shot. The first thing I've got here is a top piece for a Separatist shuttle. Basically the last one I had was a little bit grotty, so this one's just much higher quality in that case. There's also a dark green panel in there, which I can't remember the exact use for. The main thing I needed this for were these pieces here to finish off my barracks. These 2x4x5 pieces. There's also a couple more pieces in here, including the dishes, which I really need for that section, and just some other miscellaneous stickered or pieces, just because I quite like stickered pieces, just to give some more detail into your mocks. This is another bag. Also, these orange pieces are going to be very useful for Kamino. Also, these reddish brown pieces will be very useful for my next mock, so I'm excited about that. Okay, you may see now that the lighting has completely changed. That's because it is a new day. Last night I did a live stream of building Kamino, as well as some other stuff.
One.
But never mind that. This is... I basically got a ton of different progress done, small progress in a lot of different areas of Kamino. First I'll start off with the barracks, which you've already seen. I worked a lot on the structural stability on the back of this. If I slightly spin this around and show you back here, you can see that I've got a lot more just done to make it stable. If you look on the underside of these, they're the Technic pinholes. The reason I've done those is so I could integrate lights into this section, which when turned on look something like this. And I'm really happy with how that look turned out on the bottom. I was just lighting up the underside, and when I make it a little bit darker for you, that's when I think it really, really looks good down there. And I'm really, really happy with how that look has turned out. Moving slightly along though, that's I think about it done for the barracks. I finished off topping these sections here. I filled in the rest of the ladders I needed. I realised that I didn't actually get the last stickers to put inside these sections. So I will call this done, even though those need to be put in. Another thing that still needs to be included are my little clone cadets to go into this section. So let's go and make those. Speaking of which, here are my little custom clone cadets. They're quite simply made just using the young Boba Fett torso with some dark red arms put in, just to make them look a little bit more accurate. I've gone for the light flesh tone for these guys, purely just because it works better with that little slit in the top of their torso. And also the 99 that I'm planning to do will also be that same skin tone, so just for consistency's sake, I've gone for this skin tone. I'm not super happy with the faces, but I just couldn't find anything that really better represents the younglings, because I couldn't do anything with any kind of stubble on them. And there wasn't really that many angry looking young faces, so I've just gone for more neutral ones. But I think I'm pretty happy with them overall, and they'll fit quite nicely into the barrack scene. The next major thing I did was continue to put on, reattach this main top section here. If you don't know, it was up for a long time while I had to take my battery box out to put in something else, but that doesn't matter. So that's now all correct and the lights are in there. So if I switch this on, you can see the light goes on, and these are now all on back to full power because they weren't working for some reason a little bit ago. Don't know why Cody's in there. He should be over here, but you know what I mean. You also may be wondering why this is cut short here. Like as you know before, this was intended to stretch the whole way, like the whole way down. It's probably better this way. This was intended to stretch the whole way down like the rest of it, but I've cut it off slightly. That's because basically the scene I want to recreate here is the one that you see in the intro to all of these videos, where I've got Blitz and a couple of ARF troopers shooting a rocket launcher at the side here, but I don't need this entire stretch to complete that scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to block a wall here, and with my stud shooter door, just like this, I'm going to plonk it right here so I can introduce another room into this section here. I do have some idea of what to put inside that room, but if you've got any other ideas, let me know in the comments and I will see when I get back to it which one I end up doing. But I'm quite excited about this bit here. Right behind that, it's probably very clear that I've got a large Technic structure built up here. This is basically just my switch for my lights if you look under the barracks. This was made just so it's going to be much easier for me to turn it on. Last time I had a very fiddly system where I had like a switch coming out back here. This is just much easier to do and I'm just much happier with it. That's a strong recommendation. If you do plan on doing lights in any mock, make it easy to switch them on and off. Otherwise it gets very annoying and hard to do. In the main hangar section, as you've seen here, we've got a couple of small changes. Not to do with most of the this side of things. I do still want to put more light bluish grey inside this wall somewhere, especially this section here I think looks particularly plain. And I did say last time, if you've got any ideas what I can put there, do let me know. Moving over to this side though, you can see that the entrance into the cults corridor has slightly been updated. I've put like a small ridge with slopes around the side here, which I quite like the look of, just to be a little bit different. And that's also created a raised platform, so this room I mentioned earlier can be a little bit wider going down here, and I like how that's turned out there too. Another thing that's been clear to me is that I can actually fit another room in here. If I put some inverted slopes this way heading out, I can create another just like small slither of a room here to put something else into this section, which is, Basically, at any time I can make use of Kamino to make it just look more interesting and put more rooms and details in, I'm happy. So I think I'm definitely going to put something at least in here. But in terms of actual new content, that's about it for this week's episode, unfortunately, as I was, again, stretched for time. But basically, this is episode 10 of Kamino, which I think is like quite a big milestone to reach. So I basically wanted to show you what Kamino looks like so far in its full form. As you know, this is what we've been focusing on in the past few weeks, but we did have a opening section with all my base plates with all the water on it, as well as the podiums. So let's stick all that together for you and show you how it looks in its current state just now. So there you have it. This is Kamino so far at the end of episode 10 of, at the end of week 10 of building Kamino. So I've got my large base plates to set the floor. I do still need to finish off lining up the back few layers of these. I do still have another pick-a-brick cup full of these pieces, but I will just save that for another little stream or something like that. But we've got our main section of Kamino, which I'm really happy with the overall look of so far, at least. Yeah, I like it, and I think it looks quite good next to it. This platform needs to be a little bit higher, and I do want to build more platforms in the future. I know that I want to get another one around this size back here. I want to get a much larger one to go in this section here, and then a couple of the ones to like connect them. But yeah, I'm really excited to continue with Kamino, and I hope you're enjoying the build series as much as I am building it, if that makes sense. But yeah, that will about wrap it up for this week's episode of Building Kamino, unfortunately. This is going to be the last episode of Building Kamino for a little bit. Basically, this time next week, I'm going to be announcing a very special project, which will take me pretty much the entirety of March to get through. So at the end of March, we will reconvene with working on Kamino. So we're going to take a small break with it, but we will be back. So don't worry. But what we've got coming up throughout March is very, very exciting. So hopefully you understand and we can move on with that. Great. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Building Kamino. If you like this update, like the video, that's what the like button's there for. Comment your favourite thing we've worked on Kamino so far. I think mine's got to be the barracks. I just love how they've turned out, especially with those lights in them now. And subscribe so you don't miss my special upcoming March project, as well as whatever comes next for Kamino afterwards. Thank you so much for watching and your continued support, and bye!